You unlock this benefit with the key of Patreon. Beyond is another dimension. A dimension of thought. A dimension of speculation. A dimension of mind. You're moving into a land of both waffle and substance. Of things and ideas. You've just crossed into the podcast zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Trekking Through the Twilight Zone. We're back for another episode of us, episode by episode, going through this classic series. And as always, we're joined by me and Julian Darius. Julian, how are you doing? You okay?
I'm doing fine. I feel as if I'm in the Twilight Zone myself. How about you?
Yes. Life often takes me through the Twilight Zone, but today I'm happy to play for some high stakes. We're going to be talking about the Prime Mover, and let's start with some initial thoughts. Julian, what do you think about this episode as a whole before we get into any main points?
Well, I think I like this better than the earlier sort of preachier gambling episode. Although, I definitely have problems with this plot, and I have problems with especially the treatment of the girlfriend.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, no, I think we're going to have sort of similar points on that. I enjoy this episode. I think the opening, sort of the bit that instigates the sort of the main plot is quite good. The car crash that they use, obviously footage from a film and all this other stuff, is kind of cool. But this definitely feels better than the past one, the one from the season one that we did. But yeah, just to give you a plot. So in this, there is a diner or sort of cafe that's run by these two guys, and one of them, whose girlfriend is clearly looking to get married or to move on. But he seems to keep wasting his money on a sort of slot machine in the corner of the cafe, and even to the extent that somebody else comes in and wins the jackpot on that last minute and takes all the money. However, he finds out that his partner at the restaurant or the cafe or diner has telekinesis, has the ability to move things with his mind, but he hasn't done it a long time because it gives him headaches and actually sort of can be quite debilitating to him. But upon realizing this, they travel to Las Vegas to put these telekinetic skills to use on the tables, on the roulette wheel and on some others as well. But eventually it leads to a high stakes game of dice that may or may not go well. But yeah, no, I thought the morality sort of telling of this sort of felt a bit more natural than that last one. And yeah, like less preachy, but still some of the things that are done. And again, I think they're trying to squeeze it into sort of 25 minutes or whatever. But how quickly this guy sort of just becomes sort of like this horrible, bolshy sort of like big spender who's willing to sort of try and win over even the cigarette girl, but just sort of what's my job? What she says to him, what's my job going to be? Spending money, honey. You're just like, oh god, even you don't even sound like a good person when you're poor,
Yeah, I think that gets to my problem with this episode. I mean, I do think that we've seen other kind of telekinetic episodes where you and I have pointed out where's the obvious sort of gambling possibility, where's the self-interest come in. But my problem here is with the characters, that I don't like or buy any of the three characters. And you're pointing to the problem with Ace.
Yeah.
Not Ace Rimmer, but Ace Larson, the main character, who just, was a sort of obsessive gambler from the start. Was mean to people, but, very much in his own head. And all of this cruelty just comes out in force the moment he realizes that he has an opportunity. And he really he never checks in with Jimbo, who's the one who has the telekinetic powers. He seems totally unconcerned with him, and is such a dick to Kitty, the girl, that it's hard to like him or see anything redemptive here at all.
It's one of those interesting things that we've seen this a few times in these, obviously because it's quite a compact episode, but relationships that don't seem to have any sort of purpose or any foundation. Because you see them, and you're like, how are you two together? Like, it doesn't. How did this relationship start and get to this point? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like you say, she's not shy and retiring. If she was portrayed to be sort of like that sort of like meek character that was sort of like under his thumb, or even sort of like just too scared to walk away, sort of thing, fine. But she's clearly not. Like, she, at several points, she calls him out and says like, no, I'm not putting up with this anymore, I'm off. And so you do.
That's a very good point.
So I don't understand why that hasn't happened before, when he's clearly a bit of a loser at this diner and stuff. It doesn't make much sense.
And there's no chemistry between them. And in a similar way that I think he sort of abuses Cobb. He never checks in on him until he's prompted to. I don't understand how passive Cobb is. And Cobb clearly doesn't want to do this. He has never thought about doing this before. And at the end, there's this line about how, Cobb knew right from the beginning, as the closing narration says. But he just seems very passive. He goes along with it. He wants out, but he doesn't put his foot down. I don't really understand that relationship either.
No, it sort of swings. This sort of brought to mind to me two things that sort of later, or one pre, but sort of like it brought to me sort of like of Mice and Men. So sort of like that Lenny character who sort of like just goes along, sort of thing, but then also Rain Man.
I can move cars with my mind.
Yeah, sort of thing. Like, he just, like you say, he just sort of like, what is it? It's Lenny, and what's the other character called?
I forget, but I know what you're talking about.
I'm totally, but like that sort of thing of going like, whatever he says, just sort of like, okay, we shall do that. We shall do. Oh yeah, well, I'm gonna love it and squeeze it and hug it. He just sort of falls into place, doesn't he? He just does as he's told. And then the morality is him at the end, sort of choosing not to twist the dice. But even then, like, there are different ways of doing that, because I'm still like, right, this is like the dumbest ending to this episode because you've lost everything. But it also brought to mind like Rain Man was that thing of sort of like utilizing and abusing a resource or someone who's sort of like in that way. And so I was just constantly watching this and going like you, I don't like Ace. I think he's not a redeemable character really. And I couldn't sympathise with Jimbo because he doesn't try and stop it a great deal at any point. So to the end point, like, it just sort of happens.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure that he does stop it. I mean, he says he's clearly in pain. I mean, he's clearly not comfortable, and he says, I blew a fuse. I don't think there's any reason to doubt that, really. I mean, he could be faking. I mean, he clearly has the power later.
Yes.
But he does seem to be exhausted and strained. So I don't even know that he doesn't go along with it. And he says he agrees to stop. He gets Ace to agree to stop. And then Ace sort of says, like, one time tomorrow. One time for him apparently means 1,000 different dice rolls.
Yeah.
There had to have been some point, obviously Cobb is, Jimbo is sort of aghast at inviting mobsters into the hotel room. But again, he just sort of goes along with it. And I don't understand if he's going to say, like, hey, I got to talk to you. And he says, not now, and just rolls the final dice. Why wouldn't Jimbo put his foot down earlier and just say, like, look, we've won enough money. This is putting a strain on me.
Exactly. Well, that's the conversation that never happens in this. Is that conversation of like, the Kitty leaves. Like, she's done that thing, she's walked away. But at no point does Jimbo like try and put his foot down and say, like, look, we have literal boxes of money here. Which I wanted to quickly draw attention to at some point. We have literal boxes of money here. We can stop. Like, if this is what you want, like, maybe we do this again next year. You've got to stop. But they don't even sort of like, it says in the thing, sort of, it says a compulsive gambler. But he's not played like a compulsive. It's not the gambling that he's getting the thrill out of, is it? It's the money.
And the power. He says
and
he
the
wants to
power.
own the state. Like,
Yeah, exactly. And so that's the thing. He's not a compulsive gambler. He has a chip on his shoulder about being poor and what he considers to be a loser. That's the problem. And so he wants to lord it over these people, which is why he picks whatever the guy's called, the big Phil Nolan, who's the gangster. He chooses. He says to the concierge or whatever. He's sort of like, right, get me the biggest high roller you've got in the state. That he's looking to lord it over the big. He wants to be number one, doesn't he? He even says that to people, sort of like, when he speaks to Phil Larson, he says like, his ace. Phil Nolan, yes, it's Ace Larson. Like, his people are supposed to know who he is already. This is more about power than it is about gambling.
Absolutely.
There's that conversation between Jim and Ace that should be, look, we finished. We've done enough.
Is it Jimbo who says that? Or is it Kitty? I mean, isn't
Kitty
it Kitty before she leaves who says, like, you've made enough to last a lifetime? Shouldn't this be enough? That's as close as we get to anybody really saying that.
Yeah, but you're right. It should definitely come from Jimbo as well to say, like, or even because one of the things that was interesting to me, at least, was as well that Jimbo stopped this. He says at one point, like, I stopped doing this years ago because it caused me pain. Like, it hurt to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost don't feel like that's enough. Like, I almost wanted it to be like, look, this could kill me. Like, this does damage to me, and you're forcing me beyond the limit, sort of thing. That's what I wanted to sort of, this episode sort of doesn't go far enough in some of those areas to really hit home what it wants to achieve.
I think that's true, and I think at the end, the closing narration tries to sort of put a bow on that, but they haven't built the package to put a bow on. And the other thing that's strange to me is what about sharing this money with Jimbo? Like, if I were Ace, I'd be like, okay, look, clearly you have the power. At the least, we're going to split this 50-50. I want you to feel invested. We're going to coordinate. I mean, and then there's the problem of, like, apparently no dice roll ever fails. The casino is not going to tolerate this, right? They're going to be changing out the dealers, they're going to be changing them out nonstop, and they're going to tell you to leave. But instead, I guess nobody ever does that. The closest we get is a gangster, saying we're going to use my dice and, tell him he doesn't like cheaters. But I mean, it's sort of like an alternate world version of gambling or something, right down to those boxes.
Yeah, it's very sort of thrown together. But again, like you mentioned, those boxes, like they cash out, they put in their chips, and they have literal boxes of money that they carry up to the hotel room. And has this ever been a thing?
No.
Like, surely they would give them a check, or they'd do something else, or whatever. Like, it looks so cartoonish that it just looks silly.
Well, and the boxes have something written on them, like they're like old grocery boxes or something that they had.
I don't know. I was expecting like a big dollar sign to be drawn on them in pen or something. I don't know. They were also clearly at the side of the set.
Yes, I agree. And also, is he not worried about being robbed? Like, the entire casino sees him taking $1 million up to his room.
He literally invites a mobster and his heavies into the room, and then shows him a box of money. And then the mobster's like, well, we'll gamble for that. When it could be like, we've all got guns and we're taking that money regardless. So thank you for the invite. We're going.
Yeah.
And
Kitty is the only recognizable character in this. Like, at least she leaves. She tells him, look, this is wrong. And when he persists and is obviously continuing to be deranged, she walks out. Yeah. That's what you should be doing, right?
Yeah. But she comes back. It's the fact that she comes back. Like, she has seen him now at his worst. But he's like, well, I'm poor again now, so of course I'm just charming. And you're like, no, nothing has changed. Like, they try to show an element of change, but he gets rid of the slot machine from the diner. They're trying to show that he's given up gambling. But I don't see that transition happening between the end of the story with Jimbo and him going back to the diner. If anything, he should be more frustrated because he's lost out. He had it all and he lost out. That should create more of an obsession.
Yeah, he doesn't go. Let's talk about the ending, because he doesn't go through a process of grief of losing all of this. He just seems shocked, and then it's right back to the diner where he's getting rid of the slot machine. But then he never apologizes to Kitty. Instead, he just proposes to her, right? Yeah. Which that's what women want, right? They all, look, we're two blokes. All women want is to get married, and if you've beaten up your fiance or your girlfriend, she doesn't mind as long as you propose marriage, right? I mean, that's effectively the mentality of this episode. I find that so hard to understand. It seems it's really rooted in some kind of strange idea about women. And then she says, I'll flip you for it,
Yeah.
And I mean, which is like the most it's kind of like a writer clever thing. But it seems like if she was such a strong woman to walk out, and then she doesn't know whether she wants to marry him or not, she wants to flip a coin. Now, to her credit, she doesn't really show the result of the coin toss. She simply accepts the proposal. But still, he is, I mean, like, I could understand that as a test. Like, let's see if you've changed. I'm going to toss a coin. Because what he should say is, no, I'm sorry, I want to marry you. This is what I want. I'm definitely not going to risk a coin toss. I've just been taught.
Let's not leave this up to chance. Let's take the plunge together. Yeah, like don't. And if you're trying to acknowledge that he is an addicted gambler, don't entice him. It's like the worst thing. Like, this relationship is off to a terrible start.
I've really learned a lesson. How about we roll some dice and bet whether you get married to me? That's the foundation of every good relationship.
Oh yeah. Anyway, okay, so that's that. We're coming to the end of our time now. So the prime mover. Any final thoughts then for the prime mover?
No, I'm boggled by these characters.
Yes,
and I'm boggled by the vision of psychology and relationships that presents. It's not a bad episode, having said that, but
it's an entertaining enough episode. It has these sort of moments, but yeah, all in all, it doesn't work in what it wants to do. There's ways of making this tighter to sort of tell the story they want to tell. But yes, I do think it's an average. It's not the one I'll revisit. So far, their sort of gambling. Anti-gambling episodes have been pretty weak, so that's sort of not their strong point. Anyway, so anything else? Any final thoughts?
I often think about "Throw Mama from the Train" and its line about creative writing, where Billy Crystal says to a student, like, maybe if you're going to set a story on a submarine, you might want to research some of the nautical terms involved.
Yeah.
Maybe part of the problem is you might want to research how casinos work.
Yes, yeah. Just go visit one. I'm pretty sure you can find one pretty easily. Okay. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, there we are. That was the prime mover, and we'll be back there for the next episode soon. So thank you very much. We appreciate all the support, and we shall see you on the next episode.